welcome to the Green and Gold Weekly at thegruelingtruth.net, where the legends speak. I'm Joe Pritchard, and I have Don Horn with me. And Don, you got some connections to some major news that hit the NFL today.
Yeah, my old days in California and San Diego. In fact, I grew up in Los Angeles, and I think I went to the first season of the Los Angeles Chargers, quarterbacked by Jack Kemp and coached by Sid Gilman. I'd attend pretty much all those games back, and I believe it was 1960. I was a big Charger fan, and all of a sudden, boom, they popped down to San Diego and broke a lot of people's heart. And now they're coming back to L.A., and I understand a lot of people in L.A. don't want them to come back.
No, it seems like L.A. is at best indifferent to having the Chargers around, and it's pretty clear from everything I've seen today that San Diego is not entirely thrilled that they have gone either. The usual scenes of jerseys and other memorabilia piling up outside of the team's offices. Lots of fans saying they'll never be back, and even though it's a 2-hour drive as far as the traffic goes, they might as well have moved to the moon as far as some of their fans are concerned.
They could. Sometimes you probably drive to Phoenix closer than you drive to L.A. sometimes if it's that traffic out there is horrendous, but. Yeah, it's kind of sad for a lot of the San Diego fans and a lot of my own teammates, because I spent my last year in the NFL as a San Diego Charger backing up Dan Fouts. Most of my career I backed up future Hall of Fame quarterbacks, Bart Starr being the big one, backed up him for 4 years, and then, ended up my career backing up Dan Fouts. But a lot of sad teammates and a lot of sad friends today in San Diego, but they've seen this coming for a while. And it's just too bad the league's like that. I mean, it's money driven. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar business, and I understand you got to make money, and the owners are in it for the revenue, but the fans have a lot to do with it too. So it's kind of sad in some ways. So.
Yeah, the NFL owners have burnt 2 markets to a crisp for a generation over the past 2 years, and they don't just come back because you snap your fingers. So I'm going to guess they don't really know what they're doing when they're leaving these places. If they ever want to return, I don't think it's going to be as easy as they think it's going to be.
Yeah. In fact, I saw some crazy thing on Facebook this evening. It said the San Diego Raiders.
Now, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? The Raiders, they've been threatening for years to move. In fact, they did, and then they came back, and they still want to move, and they still want their new stadium up there, which they should be. But that stadium in Oakland, as well as the one in San Diego, I call it the old Murph, the old Qualcomm. I mean, those things are great stadiums at one time, but they're so antiquated now. They're terrible for the fans. I mean, for the fans, absolutely terrible to. The facilities, concession stands, the restrooms, park. It's just a terrible, a terrible venue. And they should build a new one if they're going to stay there. But the question always boils down to, Joe, is who's going to pay for it, right?
Yep, exactly. And San Diego stood up and said, "No, Mr. Billionaire owner, you can build your own stadium. We're not going to pay for it."
Yeah, that's right. And
that's something to respect, and I'm rather glad to see more cities saying no to these things. But then there's obviously consequences at the end of the road when that happens. Right.
Yeah. Can't argue with that. I agree.
Yeah, I actually did talk to Mike Goodpasture, who runs the GrizzlyTruth.net here, and he was a little bit more animated than I was about it. I mean, at this point, it's been probably about 12 hours since I've gotten the news. And, I've been in a foul mood all day about it, to be honest. I'm not sure why, honestly, why I care as deeply as I do, but it's just, it never sits well with me when I see the team's fans just left behind because there's more revenue in a different place. There's a little bit more to the whole thing than money. And the problem is the only people that don't realize that are the people that own the teams these days.
Yeah, that's true. And then you see the small, the small little stadium. I guess they're going to play in that little stadium up there in the suburb of L.A., which actually it's very close where I grew up. LA Galaxy play Major League Soccer there, and it was a 30,000 Thursday. It was 30 or 31,000. Stadium, and it can accommodate maybe 30,000 fans, and it's hard to believe that the NFL would sanction a team like the Chargers going up and playing in a stadium that small. It's just amazing, how they kind of change their rules in the middle of the stream when it comes to certain things, because I thought there was a minimum requirement of certain, configuration of a stadium. It had to be, so many tens of thousands of, seating capacity, and in which this definitely doesn't meet that criteria. But,
right.
Money talks, politics and money. Who knows? It's just amazing. I don't know.
Well, that's exactly it. I think Minnesota, when they were in the Gopher Stadium for the past few seasons before this last one, they were slightly below that, but they kind of looked the other way on that because it was a temporary fix. I think that's
right.
What they're doing here. They're so desperate for LA TV, people in the LA area to watch games on TV, that they, for the second time in 2 years, have lit a market on fire to get more numbers in LA. But apparently they know what they're doing as far as that goes.
Well, yeah. Sometimes I question their decision making, but isn't it ironic that 20 years, 20-some years, or 20 years or close to it, there are no team in Southern California or L.A. and all of a sudden now there's two.
Right, and both teams had left at one point.
Yeah. I mean
the Chargers really never really established themselves in L.A., but the Rams have been a mainstay for almost 50 years themselves.
Yeah, the Rams leave, and the Raiders come down, and they leave, and there's no team there, and then boom, all of a sudden they have two. So I don't know. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. Yeah. The owners care about the revenue, and to hell with the fans, and to heck with the players and everything else. So show me the money. There's Jerry Maguire. Show me the money.
That's exactly it, and that's just another stark reminder that what our Sunday afternoons are at the whims of some rich people, and we'll see if they want to keep entertaining us for years to come. Thankfully, for the Green Bay Packers, they don't have that rich person that can threaten to go away. We still felt the pinch of the taxes in Wisconsin as far as that goes when it comes to keeping Lambeau Field up to date and getting it ready to go, but in that case, you can understand it just a bit better since there's nobody behind it going, I've got a bunch of money, but I want you to pay for it. Well, the Packers don't have that, so it's really up to the public whether they stay or whether they go.
Yeah, and the public and the Green Bay Packer organization has built one of the finest stadiums in the country, if not the finest, in my opinion. And they keep the old structure going and build new traditions around it, and it's something that you'll never see anywhere else. They'll just go, oh look, it's 30 years, it's time for a new one. Let's tear this one down and put a new one there. Yeah, let's tear this one down, build one right next door, and whatever. Well, that's not going to happen in Green Bay. They just keep the sacred turf of Lambeau where it is, and they just keep improving that as necessary, on the facility. It's a beautiful, beautiful space. I haven't been back there in a couple of years. I'm going to try to get back there this year for sure to catch a game or two. I just love going back to Green Bay. I love going back to Wisconsin. Except this time of year, it's kind of cold. Just a little bit. Speaking of that sacred turf, the Packers played a playoff game on that sacred turf, and for the first quarter, it didn't look so hot, but after that, things looked a little bit better, didn't they? Yeah, they. I was kind of worried there the first quarter. I'm going, hey, the game's today, not Monday or not later on. Not Sunday night or Saturday night. It's tonight. It's right now. And they came out of the blocks very slow, but once they caught fire, Katie barred the door. They shut Eli down, and that they're able to figure out that defense for the Giants, and they totally took control, and it was nice, pleasant afternoon to watch the game for sure. Except for seeing Jordy. Gosh, what's the word on him? I know he's got two cracked ribs, and there's nothing worse than having two cracked ribs. There's not a whole lot you can do with it except maybe take some local shots before the game, as long as there's nothing punctured in there. But I hate to see that go down.
And not looking too good. He hasn't practiced all week, obviously. And with a receiver, I kind of find it hard to believe he'd be able to play a week after a suffering injury like that, simply because he's going to need his full range of motion. I just can't imagine that. And
playing up there behind Bart, I've seen Bart a couple of years. He had broken ribs. I had broken ribs one year, and it's the most painful thing I've ever gone through in my life, pretty much. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do. I mean, you can't do anything with it. I mean, it's just nothing you can do. But the good news is Randall came back. Gosh, he had a great game. Oh, man, I tell you, you got Devontae looking good still, and Randall, he just had a hot game. 3 TD catches and that one great play, that Hail Mary he right before halftime. Oh, what a beautiful play that was. And I just hope they can keep that momentum going. I hope they can put together a good game plan, because they have a test this week with the Cowboys down in Dallas, that's for sure.
That they do, and playing in Dallas for the playoffs has never been the Packers' forte. It usually doesn't end up to, with the exception of one game the year before you came to the Packers. Bart had a fantastic game in the 66 NFL championship game at that point. But I don't think the Packers have won a playoff game besides the Super Bowl since in Dallas.
Yeah. I think you're right. And I remember, Danny Don Meredith was a good friend, and he always said on that one game that you just alluded to, Joe, and I think it was January 1 of 67, that championship game down there in the Cotton Bowl, Meredith said, well, heck, he said, I didn't even touch the ball. The offense didn't even touch the ball until we were down 14 points. We spotted the Packers 14 points, and then they fought back, and he still thinks that, they had the better team that year. But he said he didn't touch the ball until they were 14 points down. If you recall that game, I think Green Bay went down and scored, then they kicked off, and then I forget who ran the ball back, and they fumbled, and Packers picked it up and ran in the touchdown, and they were had 14-0 before first offensive play that the Cowboys ran. And
you don't want to spot a Lombardi team points when you can help it.
That's for sure. That's for sure. So,
but they're not giving them back.
Yeah, and I guess we're not favored, which doesn't mean anything. We're not favored by much. I think the Cowboys have the edge, they say, as far as the professional odds makers are, or whatever. But I tell you, the Packers and people I've talked to all week too, they're saying Green Bay, man, they're looking hot. They're running on all cylinders. And but this would be a test this week. In fact, I've been talking to people this week, and they think the winner of this game this week will end up being, in the Super Bowl, probably against the New England Patriots. So whoever wins this game Sunday, the people I talk to think they're going to go all the way to Houston.
Yeah, well, there's one more game in between then and there to worry about, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Yeah. I do have a couple concerns about this one, though. The Packers' defense seems to be stepping it up lately, but they got pretty well manhandled the first visit, and you got to wonder how long Rodgers could keep this hot streak going. I mean, it's almost hit 2 months here where he's been absolutely on fire. If you have one bad game in the next 3, though, that might be all she wrote.
Yeah, well, you can't afford to have a bad game now, but Aaron is Aaron, and you're right. Odds are that it's that's the most difficult thing about any sport, especially professional football. I think is being up 100% or close to it week after week after week after week, and that was always Coach Vince Lombardi's big fear is that there'd be a letdown. But he was always concerned about the letdown coming with the weaker teams. And right now, the teams that the Packers are going to be facing are certainly not the weakest team in the leagues for sure. And, if anything, they're going to step up and deliver. And I think, they have a mission, and they're well aware of that mission, and hopefully they're going to follow through with it. I really think that they can continue it. I really do, as far as Aaron goes anyway, in the offense. But, Clay Matthews, he seems to be okay. He's back, his shoulder. He's practiced pretty much all week. I guess Julius, he didn't practice yesterday, but he practiced today, I understand. So our defense, hopefully we're going to be ready. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be, I think, a great game. It's going to be, maybe it's going to be a game like the Alabama-Clemson game Monday night. Could be that kind of a game.
I don't know if my heart could take that kind of game. That was something else altogether. Now something you said last week ended up being exactly right, though. The Giants seemed to lack some focus, blew some opportunities early, and then right after the game, everything blew up about that boat trip that we had talked about last week.
Yeah, I mean,
now we don't see the Packers or the Cowboys doing anything of a similar sort, so the hope is it will be a bit more focused, but you were bang on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there, done that. I know what that does to a team and the psyche of a team. And you're right, Joe. This week you don't see both teams are focused this week. They know how crucial this game is and how important it is. And both teams are going to be ready. And, I'm sure, we're going to be ready too. And I'm going to go with Aaron and relax. Everybody relax. Just relax. We got this under control.
There you go. And now the Cowboys do have a rookie quarterback who hasn't been in this kind of situation before. So again, you were mentioning back around late December about teams that hadn't been there before and hadn't experienced the situations. Dak Prescott's been a fantastic rookie quarterback. I just wonder if we're going to see more rookie than quarterback this week.
Yeah, Dak is one great specimen, and he was very highly thought of in the draft, and I think he would have gone much higher in the draft if he hadn't had that little excursion, that little DUI he had right for the draft last year. But a lot of people said he was the best quarterback in the country last year, from people I've talked to. But once you get to the playoffs, it's another realm. It's another psychic type of a thing. But that kid has handled it pretty well all year, and I gotta say I'm impressed with what his results are, as I'm sure Tony Romo is, because he's sitting on the bench getting splinters. And I know that feeling too. But Ezekiel, they have a good team. They have no doubt about it. They have a good team. But a lot of people think that. They don't think that the Cowboys have the will to finish in the playoffs, that's the scuttlebutt I hear. But who knows? The Packers have been there; they seem to be a little more focused and stuff, we'll see. But I'm pulling for the Pack to pull this game off, and then going all the way, and then I'll be with Jerry Kramer and maybe Donnie Anderson and some of the old teammates down in Houston. We'll be celebrating and partying with the team down there come early February.
That is certainly the hope, and I don't think we've got much more to say about the Packers and the Cowboys here. It's going to be a good one. We're going to have Aaron on the top of his game like he has been, and we're going to have to hope for the Cowboys to make a few errors.
Definitely, definitely, and the Pack is back, and they're going to continue the march, I think. What's the word on Ty Montgomery? Is he injured or not? I thought he was hurt pretty bad there for a while, but I think he's practiced all week, and and he's a key component too. I mean. Devontae, Jared Cook, Ty Ty. I mean, these guys are all going to contribute to the offensive aspect of our attack this week down in Dallas. Have you heard anything on Ty?
I haven't heard anything worrisome about him, put it that way. So
yeah, well, that's good.
Thinking we'll be seeing him a lot. He's got Kristen Michael to bash ahead for a few yards. Seems like he runs with quite the head of steam every time he touches the ball.
Yeah, he's amazing. I mean,
I don't know, lacks a little bit of touch, but my goodness, he can run.
Yeah, he can run, and he's got that knack. He just knows where the hole is. He sets things up. He just got that. You can't teach that, and it's just amazing. I talked to a lot of guys out here and some former players out here in the Colorado area, and everybody's so impressed with what he's brought to the table. Him being I think initially he was a running back, and then he switched in a wide receiver out there at Stanford. Now he's showing what his true colors are. He's a great running back. He's a skilled running back. Kind of reminds me of old Elijah Pitts in a lot of ways. Just a good steady runner. Just a good steady running back that can set blocks up and just knows where the hole is going to be, and so dependable.
That is a great thing to see out of a guy that hasn't played a lot of running back in his life. It just seems like it's a natural thing.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Well, before we sign off this week, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. See if you have a story or two about your time in San Diego as we say goodbye to the San Diego Chargers for the time being.
Well, let's see. I don't have a whole lot of stories, and none I can tell on the air or whatever. I got to say, I backed up Dan Fouts, and I got to say, he's one of the. He didn't have a whole lot of. His mechanics were not the best, but he had what we call moxie and savvy. I thought he was a great leader and a great quarterback. And when I was out there, we had another quarterback, a guy named Jesse Freitas, who was a real great passer. He was also a San Diego State quarterback years after I left, and he was a pretty high draft choice for the Chargers. But he didn't have any mental toughness, so to speak. And I used to get on Dan Fouts'. I used to ride him and say, Dan, because Dan would just verbally abuse him, just beat him down verbally. And just destroy his confidence, and I'd say, Dan, you gotta lay off that kid, you're really gonna, destroy the kid's ego and whatever. And then Dan always said, well, better him than me, but he was very, Dan was one tough, and we're still friends today. I see Dan every now and then when he speaks, when he broadcasts some of the games and stuff like that or whatever. In fact, I just saw him a couple of months ago. And, we kind of reminisce about the good old days. Of course, I always tell these guys, hey, you got me to help thank for putting you in the Hall of Fame because I backed you up. I pushed you to greatness.
Well, especially Fouts was, his first or second year when you were there?
It was his second year, and they brought me in. I still thought I could play. I had a bad knee and bad arm and stuff, and Unitas was there his rookie year. And then our head coach was Tom Prothro. That's another, whatever. I don't even go there with that guy. But I went in one afternoon and talked to Coach Prothro, and I said, Coach, hey, I think I can still play, and you got a young kid here, Fouts, and the other kid named Freitas. He's a rookie, and I can still, got some veterans here, and we can still win. And then Prothro tells me, he says, Don, he says, when I was head coach with the Rams, I went with the veteran team, and they let me down. And I'm not going to go with the veteran team now. I'm going to go with the young guys. And I don't have to win for 3 years. He says, the only reason you're here is to take that young boy Fouts under your arm. I ruled with him. He said, I want you to teach him everything you know on the field as well as off the field. And he made me, I was his roommate. I had to babysit Dan for the whole year. So I got to know him pretty well.
Well, it seemed to work out pretty well for him down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. Well, he was just, he was okay, whatever. I mean, I wrote him a little note and contacted him when Coryell got named head coach out there. You know, and I said, get ready, Dan, you're going to be reborn. He says, what do you mean? I said, well, Coryell's coming to town. You'll find out. And to this day, Dan says the only reason he's in the Hall of Fame is because of Don Coryell. And
yeah, that was some sort of offense. And back in days where offenses like that didn't grow on trees either.
Yeah, that you know, and he put together, you know, some good talented receivers, good offensive line, and you know, and I still think, I mean, Jerry Kramer, you know, why Jerry Kramer's not in the Hall of Fame, the NFL Hall of Fame, is just beyond. I cannot understand why he's not. And then another guy I think should be in the Hall of Fame is, you know, Coach Don Coryell. He's the only coach in football that's ever won over 100 games in the collegiate level and won over 100 games in the professional level. You know, he never won the big one, but he's been there, and he was, you know, a great coach. And I think they both should be in the Hall of Fame. And to this day, I'm so upset every time I think about it why Kramer's not in the Hall of Fame. It blows my mind.
No, I can't think of a reason either. Now, mind you, I've grown up a Green Bay Packers fan all my life, and I definitely have bias toward that thought. You played with him too, but I can't see it. I don't understand why he's not. I just don't see why not. But I will leave that to you. I will trust your judgment a lot more than mine on that front.
Well, yeah, to me, he's the best guard I ever played with, and you know, in more ways than one, you know, and you know, he should be. It's just, you know, politics. You know, it's just politics. I don't know. Politics.
You know, we've seen politics and money raiser as we had over the last quite a little while over the NFL's history.
Well, let's make sure we get some holy water and throw it up to the right direction. And next week we'll be talking about a Packer victory over the Dallas Cowboys. How's that, Joe?
That's the hope. This week's been a little bit of a downer with the San Diego news, but let's hopefully we're in a little more of a positive frame of mind next week. We're talking about a NFC Championship game that the Packers will be participating in.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah, let's talk about that next week. You got it, partner.
All right. Well, that sounds good to me too. For the Green and Gold Weekly at thegreenandtruth.net, I'm Joe Pritchard, and we will see you next week.